with me. Shit. You're a damn good flight.
You are fined 2 credits for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
I'll be right back. Thanks a lot, you shit.
You are fined for repeated violations of the verbal morality statute.
So much for the seashells. See you in a few minutes.
Right, first and foremost, as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Waha, Racha Kodash, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahweh Shai. Honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and other like-minded elders in Israel that teach well. By whom I learn His truth, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Shalom Abarakim to the hope for the elect house of David, and salutation to you, Akim, that are laboring, ministering week in, week out, making your bodies a living sacrifice unto Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai in all truth and sincerity. Right, it's the brother Danya Allah, back with a quick hit for the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And the clip you saw was from the movie Demolition Man, which I believe came out in 1994, I believe. Demolition Man, and you can see in the scene Sylvester Stallone, and this movie is set like in the future, which I believe, I could be mistaken, I believe is around about the times we're living in now, so 2025, I believe, or 2030. And in the scene, Sylvester Stallone, who plays the character John Spartan, is being fined for his rude speech. Right, so every time he said something that was perceived as rude, the computer gave him a fine, right? And this is something that, watching this as a young boy in 1994, this is something you thought to yourself you'll probably never see. It's just a movie, but hey, we find ourselves today in 2025, this becoming a reality, man. Right? Just like, many other movies that are foretold or prophesied what was to come, man. And it's heavy because when I saw this article yesterday and a few clips yesterday, it brought my mind back to the movie Demolition Man. So like they say, man, there's nothing new under the sun. And all these devils do is continue to do what they always do, which is, push their predictive programming and gradualism, man. Because like I said, now we're actually seeing them taking the steps to start persecuting and finding you people for so-called rude speech or swearing in public, right? So let me pull this up quickly before I get that. Right, if I can find this video.
The UK. From the 1st of January 2026, all citizens will be prohibited from using swear words in public places. If the police hear you, there will be a £5 penalty each time. This is not speculation. It is an official rule confirmed today. The Home Office, along with local police forces, will be on watch. Officers may replay street conversations, observe football matches, and even use CCTV with sound sensors to detect bad language. If you are found swearing in public, you could be fined right there and then. The government insists it is about safeguarding families and maintaining public decency. Critics argue it is an absurd restriction on free expression. So what do you think? A clever way to tidy up society, or the state literally charging you for every curse? Stay tuned for updates. This one will cause trouble.
Yeah, so welcome to the free world. Where their convenience becomes your inconvenience. Disguised as freedom, man. Why they strip more of your so-called freedoms away. And this the times we're in. And it's, it's biblical prophecy playing out, man. Because this is not anything new that we're telling you. our elders, the apostles, men on down, been out there telling you these things for decades now, man. That we were going to enter into a time where, they were going to start taking draconian measures, right? A totalitarian state, man, right? A dystopian, George Orwell 1984 type system, man. And this is exactly what we see. This is exactly what we see. And the majority of people are not going to go for it, man. So if things do go their way and they do manage to implement this and bring this in at the beginning of this the so-called New Year 2026, then all this is going to do is stir up the masses even more and more, because they're already talking about in places like Nigeria, over here in the UK and Europe, that they're getting ready to push their digital ID by the end of the year, right? So, yeah, you're going to be fined £5 on the spot if you're caught swearing in public. And you have to laugh, man. You have to laugh. But at the same time I laugh, it's deadly serious times we're living in, man. Right, so let me pull up the article quickly on the BBC News website. And this is back in July 24th, right? A few months back. Swearing ban plan misunderstood, says council. And this is more so over there on the coast of the UK, right? And this was a few months back. It says a council renewing its efforts to introduce fines for people caught swearing in public has said its proposals have been misunderstood, right? Thanet District Council will meet later to discuss issuing £100 fines for antisocial behaviour and language that causes distress, alarm or harassment, right? It says, if approved, the swearing ban will cover all of Thanet, including tourist hotspots, Margate, Ramsgate and Broadstairs. Now, these places here are on the coast of the UK, like by the seaside resorts, right, by the sea. So it says, while some people are all for the plan, others have called it way too draconian. And that's exactly what it is, man. It says an excuse for the council to raise cash. That too. But ultimately, it's a way or means of control, man. Systemic control. It says the district council is looking to bring in a public space protection order, PSPO, which makes it an offence to refuse to stop using foul and abusive language if requested to do so by a police or council officer. Councillor Heather Keane said the plans had been misunderstood. It's not about casual swearing, right? What's a casual so-called swear, which we know ultimately, when you go into the etymology or the root meaning of the word swear, is to make an oath. So even when you talk about this new speech or the way that they're using what is to swear in the modern day, is totally off, right? But nonetheless, most people refer to swearing as using bad or foul language, right? So it says it's not about casual swearing. So that would be, something like crap or shit or piss, excuse my language, right? That's casual so-called swearing, where it's where language can upset people, she said. Well, that's a very loose statement, man. Because what might offend one person might not offend another person. So there's not actually any real rules or parameters concerning the things you're allowed to say and the things you're not allowed to say. I suppose it just depends on how the police officer or the people that are behind the cameras feel about you saying what you say when you say it. Which is blurred. It is a blurred line, which is only going to do what? Bring more confusion. And with the more confusion, there's going to be what? There's going to be more uproar and an outcry from the people, man. Depending on where you are and who's hearing you and who's arresting you, so on and so forth, right? So it says, so there aren't any words that people couldn't use. It's the impact the words would have on other people around them. It's a proportionate response It's not a subjective thing, it's objective. Exactly, and that's the problem. It's objective because what's rude to one person might not necessarily be rude to another. So this is where they go wrong. Because now that rule, you know, is being used, is going to be used very loosely unless they put certain parameters on it, right? It's going to be objective. So again, depending on how the police officer or, you know, whoever's sitting behind the cameras, because they're talking about, you know, being able to pick up people's foul language off the CCTV. So depending how the operator behind the camera's feeling is going to determine whether you're going to have to pay a fine. And really and truly, it's all bullshit. Like I said, it's their inconvenience becoming your their convenience becoming your inconvenience. You know, but you know, this is what you people wanted, right? You're free. You're free, right? The world's getting better. I've heard some crazy people say in the times we're living in now. Now we're living in them days, man. We're living in them end days. Like they said in the article, draconian measures, man. A totalitarian state. This is what they're angling for. So let me see if I can... let me pull up a couple precepts. This is Isaiah chapter 29. Verse 20, it says, "For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed. And all that watch for iniquity are cut off." Because this is exactly what they're doing, man. They're watching for iniquity, right? They're setting traps and snares, man. So they got all their CCTV cameras, right? Their facial recognition cameras set up all around Europe, especially over here in London, heavy, and across the four corners, right? To catch you slipping, basically, right? To see if they can hear you whispering some so-called foul language so that they can find you. So that they can track and control everything you're doing, saying, thinking. This is what they're aiming for, right? Verse 21, that make a man an offender for a word. So yeah, you could be not only fined, but put into prison. You know, as they're also talking about clamping down on people preaching the Bible or, you know, certain religious beliefs, man. Right? It says that making a man an offender for a word and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate. Because this is exactly what this is. They're laying snares, man. Right? They're watching for iniquity. It says, "And lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught." And ultimately, all these things are set up, you know, to accuse, you know, the brethren, really. Like the elder was going into today at the altar, man. They can't, there's a reason they can't just come out and say, or take us off the street, or say, you know, we're doing this or we're doing that, because ultimately we're preaching the truth. And even though the truth hurts a lot of people's feelings, they still have to, they're still in some way, shape or form have to come to the terms that what we're preaching is the truth. Especially when we speak about the evils and the injustices that are done in this world, man, by these damn devils, you know. Even their own have to admit, if not out loud, then inside themselves. So this is why these devils know that they got to put all these little things into place so that ultimately they can do what? They can stop the elect from preaching this truth. Because those are the ones that they really want to silence. And that's what it's all about ultimately. Silencing the truth. Right? Silencing those that are out there exposing these devils for who they are and what it is they're up to. You know? Because really we're the only ones really truly reproving at the gate, man. Right? Speaking of true justice. And they're trying to make it a thing of naught. You know? This what they're doing. And normally we know their plans are going to fail. But nonetheless, they're going to do the job that they were created to do, which is be the damn devil that they are. You know? And be adverse to that which is righteous. You know? So suppose everybody is playing their role beautifully, and prophecy is unfolding beautifully, man. Right? This is Isaiah 10, verse 10, right? In the GNT. It says, "You are doomed. You make unjust laws that oppress my people. That is how you keep the poor from having their rights and from getting justice. That is how you take the property that belongs to widows and orphans. What will you do when the Most High punishes you? What will you do when he brings disaster on you from a distant country? Where will you run to find help? Where will you hide your wealth?" Right? Exactly, man. Right? So these devils are doomed, man, and they know it. You know, but desperate times call for desperate measures. They can't hide their iniquity anymore, man, because they're being revealed. Right? So they just gotta push forth gun home, man. Right? They're about to come out the stores all guns blazing, man. And you Jakes are not ready. So again, it says, "You are doomed, you that make unjust laws that oppress my peoples." Yeah, man, because apparently, you know, the UK, America, you know, these are places where you have so-called freedom of speech, right? So-called. Because what this proves is that there is no freedom of speech, man. Matter of fact, you're going to be fined if they don't agree with some of the things you say, man. It says, "You make unjust laws that oppress my people. That is how you keep the poor from having their rights and from getting justice." And only that's what it's all about. It's about shutting up the Israelites, especially those that are awakened to the truth. That's what it's really about. You know? So yeah, man. You know, you better be careful what you're saying out there. You better have the money to pay the fines, man. You know, but nonetheless, like I say, man, prophecy is playing out, right? So the Wadi Al Bashim Yal Shai, man, right? And may continue to hasten the day to make these devils reveal themselves, so that some of you Jake that are still sleeping, wake your ass up, man, and repent. So with that, as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and infinite glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Waha, Racha Kodash, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai, and Shalom to the elect.